Welcome back, everybody, to the Oakland A's franchise and MLB The Show 23. We finished off the first 3 years of this franchise, and while our win total hasn't changed a lot in this series, there's no doubt the talent is starting to accumulate, the development is picking up. This team is definitely heading in the right direction, it seems to me anyway, with prospects such as Joe Michael, the number 1 rated prospect in baseball. Number 2 is the center fielder Aaron Don. We brought in Trey Sweeney this year, and he made an immediate impact playing third base. And we have Tyler Soderstrom, who is one of our most valuable offensive players this past season. We have this young nucleus, and not everybody's up at the majors yet, but more are on the way. And in year 4, I'm planning on seeing our first draft picks get a chance to make their debuts, and it's going to be fun to finally play those games with Joe Michael and Aaron Don. But today we have an offseason, and I've been trying to think about the right way to approach this one after going 3 years into this. And, we're still not in a position to compete for a playoff spot. I don't think we're there at all. We just lost 100 games for the 3rd time in the series. The Dodgers end up winning the World Series here against the Guardians to cap off this season. Here's how the playoffs went. And I think we're still a ways off from actually being a playoff team, and we just had 3 teams in our division make it. We have a pretty strong American League West in this series. But I do think we're getting to that stage now where maybe we can afford to maybe be a bit more aggressive. Michael Soroka was our big addition last year, giving us a higher caliber pitcher that we can build around, and this year was by far our best in terms of pitching. Now, we've made some free agent additions throughout the series, like Teoscar Hernandez, Cody Bellinger, Christian Arroyo, but none of those signings are really on the level, I'd say, of Soroka, where he's still, not many free agents are going to be 26, 27 years old, but his overall, combined with age, that was a unique situation. And I'm wondering if this year, can we go find a similar type of signing that makes sense still long-term for this team, but for a typical position? Maybe it's going to be at first base or in the outfield, but can we maybe find a move that makes sense? Because I'm still trying to be patient developing our young guys, but it would be nice to have maybe at least one star to build around in the field. Here are retirements for this season, and I know we had a couple guys who finished the year hurt, and I was just hoping there weren't any surprising retirements here on our end, and it doesn't appear that there were. I like to also update our trade block and see if anybody wants to give us some offers. I'm first going to put Zach Jackson on there, as he's just been an interesting, odd pitcher for us in this series. I'm putting Cody Bellinger there, as he's up to a 78 overall. And we're also going to put one of last year's signings, Christian Arroyo, on the block. And I'm really serious about moving him because the regression is setting in. But he's still, a starting caliber player, but doesn't really make a huge difference for us. He's coming off a .4 WAR season. He just doesn't have, I think, the on-base numbers. I thought maybe these few years would signal maybe we could get back to that, but I don't think he has the plate discipline, and the hitting was just up and down throughout the season. He's a fine player, but I'm interested in moving him. We're looking at having $109 million in available budget right now, and here are the free agents that we have, and Alex Reyes would be the key one here I'd like to bring back, as he was one of our better relievers last season, had a really nice year. He was a Rule 5 pickup, but had a lot of experience, so he ends up being free agent eligible now, and he's looking for a pretty good deal. Now, I want to offer this, and I'll be open to a trade down the road, but can we just get him under contract? Tanner Scott last season, he was up and down, a lot of walks, and that's kind of normal throughout his career. A lot of strikeouts. I think I'm going to hold off on offering to him. He'd be looking for more like $3 million a year, but I'm going to let him test free agency. Same is true for Luke Weaver, Brian Anderson, and then for Paul Blackburn, while regression is beginning to set in, I'd like to see if we could get him back on a 1-year deal. He's looking for $6.7 million, which is, that's a decent contract there, but I still think it'd be pretty tradable if we decide to move him at some point this year. I'm offering him a $6 million contract to just be in our rotation as he always has been. Well, we got our first trade offer here right away. The Cubs are offering Jameson Taillon for Cody Bellinger. They want to bring him back. I'm not interested in this deal, especially coming off this season. Come on, man. I remember being so excited about having Brian Anderson on this team, and at first he was playing really well, but all in all, in 2 seasons, this is not a signing that really worked out a whole lot for us at all. And the Luke Weaver deal didn't work a whole lot either, so some of these free agent projects haven't really gone as planned, and last year Weaver basically made $6 million to play at AAA the entire season. The Phillies are offering us a trade. What do we got here? Taijuan Walker for Christian Arroyo. Walker, 33. I'd like to get some players who are younger. He's got 11 years of Major League service time. And he's making $14 million. No deals accepted yet by Reyes or Blackburn, so this might go to the open free agent market where things get a little interesting. And all 5 of those players just became free agents. I'm taking care of the tender contracts quick, and now it's likely at some point we're going to offer Joe Michael one of those Spencer Strider, Corbin Carroll, those kind of deals you're seeing to guys who are very young. And if we wanted to offer him, say, a 10-year contract right now, we'd be looking at $157 million. I will plan on doing one of those deals, but let's let the guy get some Major League experience first. And speaking of experience, Tyler Soderstrom got some very good experience this past year. He's now played 200-plus games, and in this time, he's been a .253 hitter, .326 on base, .411 slugging. Last year, the power wasn't overwhelming, but it was good, and he was just a good all-around hitter. I believe in him long-term. 8 years, $66 million. We'll see if we can tack the club option onto there, but this could be our first really big contract that we hand out to one of our future stars. And I hope that Aaron Don and Joe Michael get theirs as well, but they're going to have to get at least a year or so of experience, and I think that it's going to be this year. Here are the salary arbitration eligible players, and we begin with Zach Jackson. We offer him $2.2 million or $2 million in arbitration. As much as I've enjoyed having him on the team, we might want to explore trade options at some point with Nick Gordon. He is 30 years old. I've loved having him on the team. I'm not trying to just get rid of him, but somebody else that we might have to think about. Of course, you're going to be starting. You're not platooning. Seth Brown, $1.8 million is all he's looking for right now. We can make that work. I did move Domingo Acevedo to closer, where his overall goes to 75. And, of course, I want to bring him back. We've had 2 really good seasons with him. But he's somebody else we'll have to consider trading, and same is true for Seth Brown. A lot of our better veteran players are, they're getting up there in age. Shintaro Fujinami, $3.6 million is the expectation. That's the highest out of anybody here in arbitration, and we're probably going to just let him test in that case. Last year he made $3 million, so he's going to be looking for a pretty big salary still, and he just hasn't been very good in a couple years in this series. Nick Madrigal, I think we're going to let him test at the same time. It just hasn't really worked out great here, and we have so many infielders I want to play instead. But that brings us to Victor Gonzalez, who was outstanding last year. 30 years old. He's still got 3 arbitration years here. He only has 3 years of experience. All right, that wasn't too bad. I'd say this process is quick and painless, but it's certainly not quick. But we're about ready now to start free agency once we set this 40-man roster. I like having a fair amount of room once we get to the offseason. And I'm going to start with waiving a couple players, including Trenton Brooks, who got his Major League moment at the end of last season. And then we got a couple infielders here that I want to maybe consider trading also. 29-year-old Jeremy Ironman and 29-year-old Kevin Smith. I'm more intrigued with Smith. He has better defense, better plate vision. So Ironman, I might look to see what I can get out of him. Why don't we see what we can do this year in free agency? Wow. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the #1 available player. No way. Of course, the Blue Jays are going to want to bring him back. He doesn't like their current offer one bit. 27 years old. Then you have Kyle Tucker from the Houston Astros looking for a pretty big contract. 94 overall. Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, Tommy Edman. Who fits what we're looking for? Bo Bichette. Someone who can make this kind of an impact is definitely something I'm looking for. Very good offense. So apparently they didn't make the qualifying offer here to Vladdy. Why wouldn't they? I don't know if he'd actually be interested in coming here. Is it worth a try though? So this here is the base offer, which would, if we front loaded it, we got $23.1 million a year, player option tacked on. I really don't think he'll take this deal. Sometimes you see numbers here that look small, and then you think you can get into something, and by the end of free agency, the market ends up where you expected. But you know what? This year, given the timetable of everything, our top prospects coming up, 27-year-old Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we're going to go for him. Paul Goldschmidt is also available, but really his defense has fallen off and his regression is really picking up right now. Ty France, Jake Cronenworth. I think that the infield spots are interesting as well, but I don't know about these markets like Nico Horner there, and then there was also Tommy Edman. I'm not going over $20 million a year, I don't think, for Tommy Edman, and I'm not going for two $20 million plus players right now. Oh, this is interesting. This never worked out in my Rockies franchise, but I think Brendan Rodgers has actually developed like a really good hitter against lefties, plays good defense, 85 overall, a 26 home run season under his belt. So he's actually turned into a really strong player. Oh, man. This would be a move. Luis Arraez. You want to get batting average and on base. Now, he's not hitting 400 here in the franchise. As a matter of fact, he's unlocked some new power. But I am interested. 3 years, 18. That's right in line with, like, you know, Arroyo making 6 a year. I would take Arraez over Christian Arroyo. Now, that $6 million Miami's offering isn't what he's looking for. He wants $8 million a year. And I think I would be pretty okay with that kind of an offer. 3 years, $24 million maybe? In the outfield then, you've got players such as Ian Happ available, Brian Reynolds, Cedric Mullins would be a really fun player for a team in better shape. 31 years old. Also coming off a bit of a down year. I wonder if that's lowering his market a bit, around 10 a year. Got Michael A. Taylor if you want good defense in the outfield. And I had mentioned in the, I don't know which episode it was, but that I'd be interested in Victor Robles in free agency as somebody I'd like to consider. The offense, though, is just really, really concerning. Like, he hit no home runs in 2024 in this series. And is his defense enough to make up for it? I think 4 a year is a little steep for this skill set. I also think that you need even more speed than this. I'm not sure 73 is enough to help close the gap you're not getting with the offense. Hey, Teoscar Hernandez is still available. We'll see if the Yankees look to bring him back. They gave up a lot to get him in the first place. Yeah, I'm not seeing too many players that I feel like I really want to go after. I like to simulate the first day of free agency. Dylan Cease signs to the Padres. 6 years, $164 million. The Braves get Michael King. And nothing else has happened. I saw that pop up, I'm like, oh, is that possibly what I think it is? The Royals are now into the mix for Vladdy. Other teams are getting in the mix now for Alex Reyes. This is getting interesting. I want to make our offer a little bit stronger here to Reyes. We have signed Alex Reyes to the 2-year deal. He'll be staying put after a very successful season last year. That's a lot of good development. Tyler Soderstrom. He has accepted his deal. There we go. We got our first big contract handed out to one of our future stars. Really excited about this move. And I think we have our first real star in the making at the bigs. Kyle Tucker ends up going to the Giants. So he goes for around $20 million a season, which I thought he might actually end up getting more later on. So he's out of our division. That's good news, finally. And now the Diamondbacks are interested in Guerrero. We're still offering the most money per year and that option. Zach Gallen's looking at big money, but doesn't like these offers a ton. Edman wants way more than $20 million a year. He's looking for 24 on a long-term deal. I'm paying a lot of attention as well to Bichette. At some point, Guerrero might decide that he just doesn't like our offer and isn't considering us. And if the Jays can land Guerrero, then I doubt they can also bring back Bichette. Like, I don't see them getting both back. The one thing, though, with Bichette is the defense is lacking there. So you're really just focused on the offense he provides, which is good, but below average defense at a spot that that weakness is usually pretty painful. I'm interested in maybe adding another veteran pitcher too, and here's Mitch Keller from the Pirates. He's looking at something more in the $8 to $10 million range right now. Only 29 years old. Hasn't had phenomenal seasons here in the franchise. They've been fairly consistent. He's still been a positive WAR player, decent starter, and I think he can make us better at least. At the very least, I want to give an offer that's stronger than what the Pirates are offering and see where it goes. I might even go after Jonathan Hernandez. We've got a lot of budget available. I'm feeling like this is the time to start stepping up the aggressiveness, trying to... it's a little bit predictive to try to say that, Joe Michael, Aaron Don can make this big difference, but we're really loading up talent to be more aggressive in year one with those guys. And I just feel like now is the time to start turning that corner after some off seasons where we were a lot more careful. But things are moving pretty slowly as I sim a few days at a time here. Guerrero still considering our offer, but, none of these big guys are making decisions in any kind of a hurry. Market stayed the same on a rise in Keller. And then we got to prepare for the Rule 5 draft, and there are a couple players here that I want to make sure we don't lose out on. First up here, Robert Passan. If he is going to be eligible, I don't want to take any chances, and I want to put him on the 40-man, which puts him in spring camp. And then we had picked up Deshaun Knowles in a trade last year at the deadline, and I don't want to lose him either. But I will risk losing these players, Justin Dean, J.J. Bleday, to the Rule 5 draft. So now we're in stage 2 of free agency, and I'm still not seeing a whole lot happen. Jordan Romano signs the big deal with the Chicago Cubs, 3 years, $26.4 million. Cedric Mullins will be replacing Kyle Tucker with the Astros. He goes for about $10 million a season, hoping to bounce back after last year's year. And that's it for this little stretch. Looks like Brendan Rodgers got re-signed, 4 years, $46 million. He stays put. Still got the big names here. Gallen now. Teams are getting a little more aggressive, it seems. St. Louis out in front with a $182 million offer. How about Devin Williams for a closer? 6 years, $73 million right now is the top offer. Through everything we've done so far, we have $57 million available in budget. A fair amount of that would go to Vladimir Guerrero if he chooses to sign. We have $39 million right now out in pending offers, which would take us closer to our budget than we've ever been. The Vladdy deal would be big, and then you have 16 a year combined between Arise and Keller. Happy New Year, everybody. It's January 1st, or no, is it December 1st? I can't even tell. Dustin May goes to the Royals. 5 years, $123 million. All right, it's December, so winter meetings are coming up, and free agency's at a standstill. Washington is now getting in the mix here for Guerrero, and the Blue Jays are off the board there, while they continue to try to work with Bo Bichette, but now the Marlins are pursuing him. Not much is happening in free agency. I'd like to take a little break and see if we can work the trade block a little bit. Christian Arroyo. What do teams think about him at this stage? 26-year-old B prospect there from the Orioles, Vinny Hopkins. Maybe we can get a decent prospect, somebody younger. Yeah, I've gone through some players here and a few different teams, but I haven't found a deal yet that I really love. Oscar Gonzalez, Tuki Toussaint. Failed to develop him on my Rockies franchise. Oscar Gonzalez. Fine player. I think the value here would be pretty even, but I think I'll hold off for now. Simulating a few days at a time, though, to just see if the market moves at all. At some point it will, and it just is a matter of time. It's not like the NFL where, like, everybody's got big deals lined up in the legal tampering window. Baseball drags it out throughout the entire winter. Mitch Keller is no longer interested in the Athletics offer, so I was wondering if the same would happen for Vladimir Guerrero. Will Smith signs on with the Padres. Devin Williams gets a massive deal to close out games for the Red Sox. That's all for now. And now we see a couple more teams getting into the mix for Keller, and the $8 million a year is not quite going to cut it. I don't think I'm done with this. That offer didn't work, but now I'm going to up things closer to $10 million per season. Winter meetings in 1 day. Rule 5 draft coming up. Oh, I wasn't sure if this would apply to my franchise, but they just patched in a draft lottery. And let's check it out. So, this is a great menu, by the way. 62 and 100. We were not the worst team, but we've never had a chance to pick at number 1. We've been picking at 3 throughout this series. Have we picked 3 in all 3 years? 16.5% chance of number 1 pick. Who feels lucky right now? Come on, give us number 1. You've got to give us something after the 3 years in this series. Oh my, we got it! The A's will pick number 1. We were a lucky team. The Diamondbacks were the luckiest, though, going up to number 2 after a 71 and 91 season. We have the number 1 pick in the draft. Aaron Don, Joe Michael. Of course, we took relievers last year. That wasn't super popular, but still got some really good prospects and infield spots as well. And now the number 1 pick is going to add to that. I can't wait to see who's available. Rule 5 drafts coming up here as nothing is happening. I don't know that we're going to really do much in this one. Justin Dean ends up getting taken number 1 in the Rule 5 drafts. So we took him in the Rule 5 a couple years ago, and now we lose him in the Rule 5. And here's what we have the option of doing now. 72 overall starting pitchers. I'm probably going to take a reliever every year. It just doesn't hurt to give them a chance in spring. But just taking a look at what all is out there. Ian Lewis, second baseman. Switch hitter. These skill sets where just nothing really stands out. We have a lot of those. I want someone to offer us something different. Connor Joe. I love having Connor Joe on my team. I'm not sure it makes sense right now. I'm not sure if anybody makes sense other than maybe a reliever, like I said. I definitely wouldn't mind Griffin Jax here. I'm a Twins fan. I'm pretty familiar with him. The home run per 9 is pretty ugly, so just be careful with where you use him. But for whatever reason, he just didn't stay on with the Twins' big league squad last year. I think you can do worse than Griffin Jax. I wonder if we'll lose anybody else. Doesn't seem like it. Just a handful of picks here in the first round. We don't need a backup catcher or anything in particular right now. I was interested in the second baseman in case we don't land Arraez and want to trade Arroyo, but I just don't think that there's... I mean, Lewis is a good option for the bench, but we have those infielders already. That's going to be it for the Rule 5 draft this year. Zach Gallen signs the big deal with the Minnesota Twins. Almost $20 million a season, taking him to age 39. Be stoked to see Gallen go to the Twins in real life. Ian Happ, 5 years, $73 million going to the Pirates. Michael Kopech to the Rangers, 4 years, $67 million. The A's, wow, we got him! We have gotten Vladimir Guerrero Jr. onto the Oakland A's. Wow, I didn't think it was actually going to work. We put out a strong offer, but I still expected that we might lose on this one. But as a matter of fact, we now have brought in the biggest superstar in this series. This feels not the same type of signing, but for my Rockies franchise parallel, this feels like getting Rafael Devers onto that team. Now that was at a bargain free agent value for no reason, but here, a front-loaded Vladdy contract. He's got a player option in 2030. You know, it's probably hard to imagine a team in our position getting a key free agent like this. But we put out a good offer, you know. He has a chance to hit free agency all over again in 4 years if he wants to. And I do feel like we're going to be turning a corner here pretty soon. Getting some of these prospects up there. Turning over this roster. And now we've got the centerpiece to build this team around in Vladimir Guerrero. He can play first, third. Of course, we got the option of the DH. And I think there's a pretty good chance he plays a fair amount of DH. Depends if I want Seth Brown to fit into the outfield, how everything fits together. Soderstrom plays first, Sweeney plays third. Ideally, I'd keep developing those guys there. And I didn't even notice they didn't want to give me a graphic for this signing, but we've brought in Luis Arraez as well. So we've already brought in a serious top-tier power hitter, and now we bring in the exact, well, I guess he's not the opposite in this series, but the opposite in Luis Arraez. All average, on base. He's brought some power into this franchise. What do you think about this team now? We're missing Arraez here. I don't know if he's just not signed yet. He's not on the bench. But doesn't this lineup look a little bit more intriguing than what we've been having in this series? And consider Aaron Don's coming up. He's going to be joining. We've got a lot of lefties here. It's very lefty heavy. But how about the biggest additions now of the series? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. joining Michael Soroka, the big signing of last year. Luis Arraez, we bring him in for $8 million a season, and now Arroyo is going to be traded for whatever we can get, essentially. 3 years of building, a lot of success with all the prospects in this series, and now we're making our aggressive push, as we are also looking to get into a new stadium here, and in year 5, it's not going to be year 4. I'm thinking year 5, with Joe Michael hopefully entrenched as our top pitcher, or one of them, with Aaron Don joining the big league lineup. I can't wait to see this team in year 4. $20 million in available budget will create probably some room by moving on from Arroyo, and there'll probably be more moves down the road. And if things don't work out too, I mean, I think there are a couple teams out there who would trade us something for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The Guardians have offered a very intriguing deal for Christian Arroyo. Kendrick Haynes is a 20-year-old closing prospect at 69 overall. And I think this is another chance for us to boost the strength of this bullpen. 20 years old, B potential, already a decent overall. Might not be far away from contributing. High strikeout upside. I'm going to take this deal for Haynes. Bo Bichette now ends up going to the Reds. I don't know what the Blue Jays are going to do. When do we sign Mitch Keller? I wish they'd do a better job of telling me these things. We've gotten our free agent targets. And I think this really strengthens the core of this team. And we got to sign players who are still in their 20s. They're not going to be regressing. We've gotten guys in their primes playing at a high level. Maybe not a super high level in the case of Keller here, but I think he'll be a quality addition that gives us another veteran option. And this roster's coming together. Now, Joe Michael's going to be joining. And if Blackburn ends up getting traded, that'll help open up a spot. And we still got prospects. When do we sign Jonathan Hernandez? Who knows? But we also brought in a pretty good reliever, 29 years old. So if you end up going to our depth chart and simulate out, they're projecting Michael to become our ace. You got Cam Cope, who's going to be, challenging within a couple of years, it seems. Then Vladdy at first base. It's got Soderstrom behind the dish because he's listed as a catcher. Trey Sweeney, Aaron Don, Miguel Cabrera maybe, Luis Ariz. This team can win some games. This team we've built for this year still has $16 million left of budget, and we've gone into our seasons with significantly more room than that. $125 million right now on players' salaries. Best players, though, on the team by overall. 27 years old, 28, 19, 29, 28. Do have some veterans here that are in their 30s. And Soderstrom's only 24 years old. And I don't think I'll be making any more free agent offers. Tommy Edman ends up getting the massive deal going to the Pirates. So Edman, he basically got the Vladimir Guerrero deal, but an extra year at the end of it. And there's Jose Urquidy leaving the Astros for the Dodgers. Nestor Cortez will go to the White Sox. Cortez ended up getting around what I offered to Keller, so maybe I would have been better off going for Cortez. But now most of the free agents are, this is all taken care of now. And I just didn't see there being a need to go after anybody else. I think that we have the young guys to make up our bench and challenge for spots. We didn't really lose a lot from the pitching staff in free agency or anything. We still got Acevedo, Gonzalez. We bring in Jackson Hernandez. And that, helps us make it easier to move on maybe from Zach Jackson. Didn't give an offer to Tanner Scott. For whatever reason, it sent Landon Sims down to AAA, but he'd obviously be at the big league level. And that's going to lead us into spring training with the most intriguing version of the A's we've built in this series. Part of why I made all these offers was I wasn't expecting to win all of them, so I've kind of been switching up this little strategy in free agency in both this game and Madden, where sometimes I over-offer because I'm not assuming I get everybody. And it's never fun when you miss out on somebody and you just kind of miss out entirely because the whole market's moving for hundreds of players. And if you're focused on one, then you have to win. Well, yeah, I'm pretty excited getting Vladdy on this team. We got ourselves a superstar to continue building this thing around. He's only 27 years old. It's also a front-loaded deal, a lot like Soroka, so we only have $16 million in budget right now available, but consider, there's still possibilities of trading Blackburn and Bellinger. A few of these guys, I don't think fit into the long-term plans as well, and I'm interested in what this budget looks like as the prospects come up, because, they're not going to make a whole lot of money for a few years unless we offer those Tyler Soderstrom level contracts. And it'll be interesting to see if the Joe Michael and Aaron Don deals end up happening the way we expect and how those fit in, but it gets easier with every year. The Guerrero deal might seem a little aggressive to a lot of you, but he's 27 years old, fit exactly into what I described at the beginning of this video, and I thought it was time to make the run at him. I'm looking at the roster right now and how I think things fit together, and I do think we're going to have to really consider making a couple more moves before the season gets underway. So obviously, if Aaron Don becomes a day one starter, then he's got to fit in somewhere, and ideally that'd be left field. Well, Nick Gordon is not going to the bench, so I like keeping him in the outfield. And right field would make the most sense, I think, then in that case. Or he could play in center, and then you could have Bellinger's stronger arm in right. Well, with Seth Brown, Soderstrom, and Guerrero then, you only got 2 spots between first base and DH. Does this move, or this series of move, end up pushing out Seth Brown? Or being more of a bench player? I mean, he just hit 31 homers and had a really nice season, so I don't ideally want him to be on the bench. Or do you consider Guerrero going back to third base? Sweeney goes to short, and suddenly Seth Brown can DH. This gives us a pretty nasty offense, I think. Sweeney's defense improved throughout the season last year. All those ratings are in the 70s. I think the rest can be done maybe playing short, which is his primary position. Guerrero at third base. Arm accuracy is the only concern there. I think you'd like to play him at first over third, but Soderstrom's there, and Soderstrom really can't play a whole lot else. This is the starting 9 I'd like to see us open spring training with and go from there. So this isn't exactly how I saw the team coming together. I felt like we'd have a couple switch hitters in the lineup and we'd overall be faster, but you just can't force certain things, and speed is one of those things I shouldn't prioritize for. It's nice to have when you can get it, but Luis Arraez isn't fast, so what? He's going to hit for the best average probably on the team. Soderstrom has okay speed. Guerrero doesn't have the best, but he hits home runs, so he can run as fast as he wants after those. Seth Brown, he's probably not a long-term player, but he's not slow. Gordon, 59 speed, that seems to be declining a bit each year. But for how many years are we going to keep Gordon around on this team? Are we eventually going to be strong enough to maybe have someone challenge for this role? He's been good. Cody Bellinger, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and he's a 78 overall now, so I'm expecting his market to really pick up, and more likely he gets traded because I'm not going to be signing him long term. I think we have enough outfield talent now in this organization, and the outfield's going to be more homegrown. Trey Sweeney at short, I don't see him giving that spot up. Aaron Don, we're hoping for great things this year. And then at catcher, could Soderstrom eventually play catcher? I think that'd be amazing, but if not, Susac, Langoliers, that really takes care of that for the short term, and I think that offers a lot of upside even in a platoon situation. Mike Soroka, Mitch Keller, Joe Michael joining the rotation hopefully this season. This is a solid starting 5. Now, with Blackburn declining and his ratings where they are, I mean, the hit per 9 still worries me. It just hasn't been a huge issue yet because he doesn't walk a ton. But he's not really a long-term starter for us, and we have plenty of guys who are going to push. Guys who have better overall ratings but haven't proved to play at Blackburn's level. I think the team is in very good hands here going forward. 3 years in, 3rd off season in the books. Tell me what you think down below in the comment section, everybody. I can't wait to take the field with this team and see if we can start talking about this team a little differently. At some point in a rebuild, you got to decide when you're going to start playing a bit more aggressively, and this was the year for me with these opportunities. What do you think about the moves? What do you think about the new players? And ultimately, are we going to be a better team as a result? A better enough team? It's not enough to go win 75 games because now you bring in all this talent. You've got to get closer to the postseason, and we're trying to take a huge jump after winning 62 games last year. So I know it's more aggressive than I expected to be, but if the opportunity was there, I knew I was going to go for it. Now we'll find out if those moves pay off. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. But that's going to do it for me, everybody. Can't wait for year 4 to get underway shortly. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, And if you have any feedback on how you'd like to see spring training presented, whether it be in just episodic form, live stream, let me know. And I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.